The narrative commences by introducing us to Sean on the cusp of his 20th birthday, a milestone celebrated not just with cake and well wishes, but with a life-altering proposition from his father. In a display of both generosity and control, his father presents him with the deed to a separate house, a symbol of independence and adult responsibility. However, this gift is tethered to a stringent condition, delivered with a mix of paternal concern and unyielding authority. No female guests are to reside under the roof of this new home. To enforce this rule, his father and stepmother announce their intention to conduct weekly, unannounced inspections. Sean, eager for autonomy and viewing the condition as a minor inconvenience easily navigated, accepts the terms with a confident smile, his mind already racing with the possibilities of a life lived on his own terms. The drama then elegantly glides through the subsequent years, sketching a portrait of Sean's evolving life and his repeated, yet unsuccessful attempts to circumvent his father's primary rule. Upon turning 21, emboldened by the fact that his father's vigilant weekly visits have relaxed into a more manageable monthly schedule, he makes his first tentative move. He contemplates inviting a girl to stay, testing the boundaries of his agreement, but the plan never quite materializes, fatting away in the face of logistical worries or a simple lack of a serious romantic prospect. By his 22nd year, the house is not filled with a girlfriend but with the boisterous presence of his close friend Ron, who has become a permanent fixture. Another friend, Sam, a dedicated and scholarly young man, also becomes a constant visitor, treating Sean's home as a second library and a quiet sanctuary for his studies. It is in his 23rd year that a significant shift occurs. Sean meets Amy, a fellow university student, and sees a genuine opportunity. Here he believes is the perfect candidate, someone he could potentially introduce as his girlfriend, finally fulfilling the unspoken challenge his father had set and perhaps silencing the stipulation for good. Our perspective then shifts to Amy, offering a stark contrast to Sean's life of privileged concerns. We find her awakening not to an alarm clock, but to the insistent chime of a text message from Sean, a sound that has become a familiar part of her difficult morning routine. Her world is one of quiet struggle and profound scarcity. In a poignant scene that underscores her financial desperation, she is forced to use precious bottled water to wash her hair, a luxury born of necessity because the main water supply to her dilapidated apartment has been disconnected due to unpaid bills. The absence of her mother is a constant, aching void. The woman left years ago, leaving Amy with nothing but unanswered questions and the heavy weight of abandonment. Sean arrives to pick her up for university, a daily ritual that has persisted since their school days. However, on this particular morning, his demeanor is different, his tone final. "This is the last time, Amy," he declares, his eyes avoiding hers. "I won't be giving you any more rides." Amy, whose life is a monument to resilience, pushes back with a familiar, teasing stubbornness. "You can't get rid of me that easily," she retorts, though a flicker of worry crosses her features. "Besides, we're childhood friends. That's a bond for life." Her words trigger a flood of memories for Sean, transporting him back to the most pivotal moment of their shared past, the day her father passed away. He recalls seeing Amy, usually so vibrant and strong, utterly shattered by grief, a hollow shell of the girl he knew. In that moment, a fierce protective instinct had surged within him. Having lost his own mother in childhood, he recognized the unique, isolating landscape of her pain. He made a silent vow to himself that he would always look after her, becoming a steadfast pillar in her crumbling world. From that day forward, he dedicated himself to mending her spirit, using silly jokes and unwavering companionship to slowly coax her back to life, their friendship deepening into an unbreakable, if complicated, bond. Throughout their school years, their constant companionship led peers and teachers alike to assume they were a couple. For a time, Sean himself nurtured a quiet, hopeful affection for Amy. But that fragile hope was brutally extinguished one day when he accidentally overheard her confiding in a circle of friends. "Sean is my best friend in the world," she stated with casual certainty, "but I could never see him as anything more than that. He's just not my type." The words, though not meant for his ears, landed with the force of a physical blow, cementing his role in her life as a permanent fixture in the friend zone. He buried his romantic feelings, resigning himself to the part of the loyal, supportive confidant. In the present, as they arrive at the university, Sean reiterates his decision to end their carpool arrangement. "I'm serious, Amy. You need to make other plans. I'm going on a blind date today," he announces, puffing his chest with a confidence that feels forced even to himself. He is utterly convinced that he will charm this unknown girl, finally embarking on the romantic relationship that has thus far eluded him. Meanwhile, Amy's friends question her about her feelings for Sean, pointing out that nearly every other girl on campus harbors a crush on him. Amy dismisses the idea with the same finality she had years ago. "He's a great friend," she insists, "but romantically, he's just not for me." The story then expands to introduce the rest of the ensemble cast. We meet Sam, Sean's best friend, a young man of quiet intensity and old-fashioned values. He's notoriously reserved around women, but it is said that once he commits his heart, his loyalty is absolute and unwavering. Then there is Ron, another of Sean's friends, whose life takes a dramatic turn during a high society event his parents are attending. While his parents boast to the host about their son's diligent studies, Ron is, in fact, at that very event performing on stage as a singer. The public humiliation is too much for his stern father to bear. In a fit of rage, Ron is physically beaten and thrown out of the family home. In a moment of both desperation and defiance, he dons a piece of his mother's clothing and flees into the night with nothing but the clothes on his back. Simultaneously, we are introduced to Cindy, the second female lead who hails from an immensely wealthy family. The moment her plane lands in Korea, she executes a carefully planned escape from her minders at the airport, shedding her designer clothes and elegant appearance for a completely different anonymous get-up. Her mother, upon discovering her daughter's flight, is incensed, launching a frantic search to retrieve her. Amy's own situation reaches a new level of crisis. While working a part-time job, she receives an urgent call and rushes home, only to find strangers moving their belongings into her house. She's met by a cold, impersonal woman who informs her that the property has been sold out from under her to settle outstanding debts. The woman is the new owner. With a sliver of pity, the woman allows Amy to gather her most necessary belongings. It is during this heartbreaking task that Sam arrives to help, marking the first significant meeting between the two. Amy, proud and embarrassed, quietly takes her things from him and finishes packing herself before walking away, her world reduced to a few boxes. A staff member, taking pity, later explains Amy's tragic circumstances to Sam, who is left with a profound sense of sorrow for the strong-willed girl. Destiny, it seems, has a peculiar way of bringing people together. That evening, Ron, having nowhere else to go, appears at Sean's locked front door and with the agility of a desperate man scales the gate to get inside. He is soon followed by a tearful Amy seeking refuge. Not long after, Cindy arrives, also claiming sanctuary. The scene reaches its peak absurdity when Sam shows up, completing the quartet of unexpected guests. As they all stand in the living room, each explaining their connection to Sean, "I'm his friend," the stage is set for chaos. Meanwhile, Sean's blind date takes an unexpected turn. On his way to the cafe, he passes a strikingly beautiful girl and thinks to himself, if only my date could be someone like her. To his astonishment, when he arrives at the designated table, it is the very same girl. He introduces himself and she simply stares at him, her expression unreadable. After a long silence, she remarks, "Are you always this transparent, or is today a special occasion?" Assuming his nervousness is a sign of his intense interest. Sean, misinterpreting her aloofness for intrigue, is beginning to feel optimistic when his phone blows up with messages from the 4 interlopers at his house. He is forced to cut the date short with a hasty, "I'll call you," and rushes home. There, he is ambushed by his 4 friends, all demanding shelter. Cindy's distress is so acute that when her mother calls, she smashes her phone to pieces in a dramatic refusal to return, a display of fury that both shocks and intimidates everyone into silence. Cornered and overwhelmed, Sean has no choice but to relent, allowing Cindy and Ron to stay. Amy, caught in the commotion, never gets a chance to explain her own dire situation, and Sean mistakenly assumes she is just there for a casual visit. Later, alone in his room, Sean texts his date, only to receive a confused reply, "Why didn't you show up?" The realization dawns on him, the beautiful girl he met was not his blind date at all. Following day, Amy goes to her old house to retrieve the rest of her belongings from the new owner, who's revealed to be the very girl from the cafe, Saya. The interaction is humiliating. Saya speaks to Amy with arrogant condescension, demanding she remove her junk immediately or risk having it tossed in the trash. Meanwhile, Sean, having learned that the mystery girl, whose name is Saya, is a photography student on his campus, seeks her out. He confronts her about the previous day's misunderstanding. "Why didn't you tell me you weren't my date?" he asks, frustrated. Saya coolly replies, "You never gave me a chance to speak." Amy, now effectively homeless, secures a part-time job at the university library where Sam also works. He grows increasingly worried about her, aware that she has nowhere to go. One evening, as he is closing up, he discovers that Amy has planned to secretly spend the night among the bookshelves. Sam insists it is not safe and urges her to swallow her pride and ask Sean for help. When she refuses, he takes her to his father's small restaurant, offering it as a safe place to sleep for the night. It is there that Amy receives the phone call she has been waiting for from her mother, only to be met with crushing selfishness. "You're 22 now," her mother states coldly. "My responsibility is over, let me live my own life." The words are a final, devastating blow. Overwhelmed by a sense of utter hopelessness, Amy finds herself on a bridge staring into the water below. In her darkest moment, she spots a suicide prevention poster and with trembling hands calls the helpline, pouring her grief out to a compassionate stranger. Sean, meanwhile, has gone to Amy's old house looking for her, where Saya reveals the full story of the foreclosure. The truth hits him like a physical force. Amy had come to him for help and he had been too self-absorbed to notice. His guilt is immediately compounded by a call from the police station. Amy had listed him as her emergency contact. Rushing there with Sam, he learns of her suicide attempt. On the way back to his house, he confronts her, his voice thick with emotion. Is it true? Why didn't you tell me? Amy, exhausted and defeated, replies, you already had 2 new guests. I didn't want to be a further burden. Sean is left to grapple with a profound sense of shame, realizing that his role as her closest friend had been a catastrophic failure. He immediately brings her to his house, making room for her in the already crowded home. The following days see the formation of an unlikely household. Amy, Ron, and Cindy bond over their shared status as refugees from their former lives. A tender moment occurs when Sam arrives with a bag of Amy's things she had left behind. Their eyes meet, and a spark of something new and romantic passes between them. This connection continues to grow on campus, where they share lunches and quiet conversations. Sean, determined to win over Saya, joins the art club she frequents. She dismisses him instantly, stating that membership is for people with passion and dreams. I don't have a dream, Sean admits, but I have other methods. He wins a small victory by presenting her with a box of exquisite desserts, which finally coaxes a genuine smile from her. Back at the house, life settles into a new, chaotic normal. Cindy and Amy become roommates, though Cindy's restless sleeping forces Amy to retreat to the backyard for peace. Sean finds her there one night and they fall into their familiar, easy banter. He tells her about Saya, and Amy, ever his blunt confidant, calls the girl a psycho for her deceptive behavior at the cafe, leading to a childish but fond argument. The next day at university, a group project forces Amy and Saya together, and Saya's condescension continues unabated. Amy seeks solace in the library, where her frequent, lingering glances at Sam do not go unnoticed, and he returns them with a shy, hopeful smile. That night, Sean finds Amy on the terrace, lost in music. As he approaches, she takes a call on speakerphone. A friend is trying to set her up on a blind date, but Amy refuses, confessing, I already like a guy, someone who's always there to help me. Sean, overhearing, immediately assumes she is talking about him. A confusing jumble of emotions, surprise, pride, and a flicker of his old feelings washes over him. When Amy sees him and asks how long he's been there, he mutters a hasty excuse and flees. The idea that Amy might be in love with him now consumes his thoughts, haunting his dreams and disrupting his sleep. He had long ago boxed away his romantic feelings for her, and the possibility of their reemergence terrifies him. In a misguided attempt to quash her supposed affection, he begins to act coldly and strictly towards her. He refuses to give her rides, telling her bluntly, I'm going to have a girlfriend soon, you need to be self-sufficient. For the first time, Amy is forced to take a crowded, inconvenient bus. Sean, unable to quell his protective instincts, secretly follows the bus, and seeing her struggle, he pulls over at the next stop and insists she get in, his harsh facade crumbling instantly. Amy's life takes a positive turn when she secures a valuable internship. Overjoyed, her first instinct is to share the news with Sean. She finds him on campus, but he, still trapped in his own confused head, tries to avoid her. Oblivious to his internal turmoil, she happily announces her news and skips away. Later, while playing basketball with Sam, Sean seeks advice, framing his dilemma as a hypothetical about a friend who is in love with him. Sam, in turn, confesses that he, too, has liked a girl for a long time but hasn't found the courage to tell her. Sean is stunned. He had never imagined the perpetually studious Sam being interested in romance. When Sean describes his friend as quarrelsome and tough, and Sam describes his crush as very cute and pretty, the audience is privy to the dramatic irony that they are both talking about Amy. Household throws a party to celebrate Amy's internship. During the festivities, a slightly drunk Amy admits to having a crush on someone, sending Sean into a renewed panic. After the party, he awkwardly tries to let her down gently, telling her, You're a wonderful friend and a great girl, you'll find the right person. Amy is initially baffled, then comprehends his monumental misunderstanding. A wide grin spreads across her face. What are you thinking? She laughs. I like someone else. A colleague who's been so kind to me. The relief for Sean is immediately mixed with a strange, nagging dissatisfaction. It feels perversely like a second rejection from her, and he finds himself once again questioning why he isn't her type. Amy and Sam go on their first official date, a sweet but slightly awkward affair that ends without a grand romantic declaration. The next morning, Sean tries to cheer up a despondent Amy who feels insecure that Sam didn't make a move. You're very pretty, Sean assures her with a brotherly sincerity. The problem must be with him. He later voices his suspicions to Sam, suggesting that maybe he's just leading Amy on. Sam defends his intentions, stating firmly, Not all guys are like you, Sean. Some of us have to consider more than just our feelings. This complexity is highlighted when Sean and Sam witness their fathers engaged in a heated argument over the rent for Sam's father's restaurant, which Sean's father owns. The class tension between their families creates a new layer of awkwardness. In a pivotal moment, Amy tries to comfort Sam about the rent situation. He, in turn, opens up about his heavy responsibilities, juggling work and studies to support his family, explaining why he can't always be as carefree or expressive as others. This indirect confession helps Amy understand his reserved nature. That same night, Sean is seen meticulously clearing stones from under Amy's tent in the yard, a silent, caring gesture that does not go unnoticed by Ron, who teasingly comments that Sean treats Amy like a daughter. Sean reacts with disproportionate anger, revealing the deep confusion simmering beneath his surface. The fragile new dynamic faces its first test when Sam arrives to pick Amy up from a bus stop and finds Sean already there. A sharp, unfamiliar pang of jealousy strikes Sam, forcing him to confront the possibility that there might be more to Amy and Sean's friendship than he realized. However, when he later voices his concern to Amy, she reassures him with absolute clarity that Sean is and will only ever be a dear friend. This confirmation solidifies their bond. Meanwhile, Sean, in a gesture of goodwill, apologizes to Sam for his father's behavior and promises to intervene in the rent dispute, demonstrating a growing maturity. The subplots continue to intertwine. Cindy's foray into the working world is comically disastrous, culminating in her eating all the food samples she was supposed to be serving to customers. Sean's persistent efforts with Saya finally pay off when a video project he creates for the art club, featuring them as a couple, wins over the senior members and, more importantly, earns a genuine pleased smile from the notoriously hard-to-impress Saya, signaling her acceptance of a real date. Ron's musical ambitions lead him to a humbling realization that his big break is merely a standby role with no job security, yet he clings to it for the meager paycheck. Sean officially announces to his housemates that he and Saya are now a couple, a declaration met with mixed reactions. His father then complicates matters by asking, or rather, instructing Sean to have Amy tutor his younger brother. Sean tries to refuse, citing Amy's busy schedule, but Amy, seeing it as a well-paying opportunity to manage her debts, willingly accepts. The tutoring session introduces Sean's bratty younger brother, who immediately makes an inappropriate pass at Amy, prompting a swift, protective reprimand from Sean. After Sean leaves, Amy overhears Sam negotiating with Sean's father, offering to do property management work in exchange for keeping the rent stable. She is deeply impressed by his maturity and dedication. Later that evening, Sam arrives at the house with a bouquet of flowers, and after a nervous false start, he formally asks Amy to be his girlfriend. Overjoyed, she agrees with one condition. She asks that they keep their new relationship a secret for a little while, a request that hints at the complex social web they are all entangled in and the challenges yet to come. In a deliberate and cunning maneuver, Shia orchestrates a pivotal moment by formally introducing Sean to her social circle as her official boyfriend. This declaration is met with profound shock and dismay by Amy, who is present in the group. The introduction was never about genuine affection. It was a carefully laid plan by Shia to instigate a direct clash and drive a wedge between the two close friends. The tension escalates later that evening when Amy witnesses Sean dedicating his time and effort to a personal project for Shia. Consumed by frustration at his apparent blindness to Shia's manipulation, Amy confronts him. She insists that Shia is merely using him for her own selfish interests and possesses no real love for him. Sean, however, is so deeply infatuated that he remains completely oblivious to any of Shia's faults, dismissing Amy's heartfelt warnings as unfounded. Simultaneously, a separate and compelling drama unfolds for Ron. He has a chance encounter with the secretary working for Cindy's mother, who is aggressively distributing pamphlets across the city. These flyers feature a prominent photograph of Cindy and announce a staggering monetary reward for any information leading to her whereabouts. Ron is initially taken aback, even going so far as to ask if Cindy is a wanted criminal, a question that offends the secretary and prompts a hasty departure. Driven by a potent mix of curiosity and the tantalizing lure of the financial windfall, Ron conducts his own research and makes a startling discovery. Cindy is the heir to an immensely wealthy family fortune. The sheer size of the reward money becomes an obsession that haunts his every thought, creating an intense internal conflict between solving his own desperate financial predicament and committing a profound betrayal of a friend's trust. Amidst this growing turmoil, Amy confides in Sean, revealing that she has embarked on a new relationship with a colleague from work. Sean's reaction is immediate and layered with skepticism and a protectiveness that borders on possessiveness. He bombards her with questions, probing the man's trustworthiness and true intentions, and openly wondering if he's merely wasting her time. Amy attempts to assuage his concerns by affirming that her new partner is a good person, but Sean remains unconvinced. Later that night, while sifting through a collection of childhood photographs, images where Amy features prominently, he's struck by the realization that she has not yet returned home. A surge of concern compels him to venture out into a heavy rainstorm where he finds Amy walking home utterly drenched. His worry instantly transforms into anger and he lashes out, criticizing her boyfriend for his negligence in not ensuring her safe passage home. Amy quickly defends him, explaining that he is burdened with a part-time job and that she herself had insisted he not trouble himself. This poignant exchange triggers a sudden and unsettling epiphany for Sean. The intensity of his concern for Amy may, in fact, be rooted in long-suppressed romantic feelings, leaving him emotionally confused and deeply unsettled. This confusion only intensifies when he accidentally overhears Amy and Sam making plans for a date. A powerful, almost primal urge to disrupt their plans takes hold of him. Seizing an opportunity presented by Ron's arrival, who appears with a sorrowful expression and announces his imminent unemployment, Sean proposes an impromptu group picnic for that coming Saturday. This suggestion is a transparent tactic to preempt Amy's date. In a cruel twist of irony, completely unaware that Sam is the very colleague Amy is seeing, Sean extends a personal invitation to him as well and also asks Shia to join the gathering. In a further attempt to control the precarious situation, Sean explicitly instructs everyone to keep a crucial secret from Shia, that Amy and the others are currently living in his home. The picnic, intended as a leisurely escape, quickly devolves into a hotbed of concealed tensions and unspoken emotions. Sean takes Sam aside and confides in him, expressing his strong disdain for Amy's unnamed boyfriend. He cites the incident where the boyfriend allegedly left Amy alone in the rain as clear evidence of the man's fundamental unreliability and lack of care. Sam, who had been assured by Amy that she arrived home safely that night, is both unaware of the truth and increasingly irritated by Sean's overbearing and protective attitude. He retorts sharply, asserting that Amy is a fully capable adult who does not require, nor should she be subjected to, Sean's constant and intrusive supervision. The group then relocates to a beautiful rental house, where the fragile peace is immediately shattered by Shia, who begins to display a series of demanding and temperamental tantrums. The situation reaches a critical point in the kitchen when Amy happens to see Shia's phone light up with an incoming call. The caller's identity is saved in Shia's contacts as "My Beloved," providing Amy with irrefutable proof that Shia is romantically involved with another man, while simultaneously stringing Sean along. Fearful that Sean is being set up for a devastating heartbreak, Amy feels compelled to intervene. She fabricates an excuse about needing to buy groceries and persuades Sean to accompany her to the local market. Once there, she cautiously and subtly hints that Shia might not be the right person for him. Sean, however, completely misinterprets her genuine concern as petty jealousy and sharply rebuffs her advice. This private outing, meanwhile, fuels Sam's simmering jealousy, leading him to pointedly ignore Amy for the rest of the day. Amy, in turn, confronts him by the poolside, where Sam frankly admits his discomfort with her easy and familiar rapport with Sean. To his surprise, Amy is secretly pleased by his display of jealousy, interpreting it as a sign of his deep feelings. She reassures him that her relationship with Sean is purely platonic, and they share a reconciliatory kiss. This intimate moment is unwittingly witnessed by a stunned Sean from a balcony above. The revelation that Sam is Amy's boyfriend sends a sharp, clarifying pang of jealousy through him, finally forcing him to acknowledge the truth he has been suppressing. He is in love with Amy. The group's collective stability continues to fracture. Ron, now officially unemployed and sinking into despondency, is confronted with a dire set of choices. A senior colleague had suggested that paying a substantial bribe to a producer could secure him new work. His other options are to return home in defeat or to betray Cindy's trust by revealing her whereabouts to her mother in exchange for the life-changing reward money, thereby solving his financial crisis. Despite his deep aversion to such a treacherous act, his mounting desperation ultimately overwhelms his conscience. He makes the fateful call, dialing the number on the pamphlet and disclosing the location of Cindy's part-time job. The following morning, the atmosphere at breakfast is heavy with unspoken thoughts. It is then that a guilt-ridden Cindy confesses to Sean that she accidentally revealed to Shia that everyone is living with him. Sean immediately rushes to confront Shia, who is livid. She delivers a harsh and uncompromising ultimatum. She will only consider forgiving him if he permanently evicts Amy from his home. For Sean, this is an impossible demand. He refuses point-blank, unable and unwilling to abandon his childhood friend. In response, Shia definitively and coldly ends their relationship. She then seeks out Amy directly, confronting her with pointed and cynical questions. The domestic situation at Sean's house becomes even more strained and complex when Sam temporarily moves in due to extensive maintenance work at his own apartment. Sean is deeply uncomfortable with this arrangement, primarily because of Sam's relationship with Amy, yet he feels a strong obligation to help his friend. The underlying tension reaches a new peak when Sam, while preparing a romantic dinner for Amy, notices that the freezer door is covered with playful couple-like stickers that pair Sean and Amy's names together. This sight reignites his insecurities and jealousy. At that very moment, an enraged Cindy enters the house and immediately begins packing her belongings. Ron gathers everyone together and with a heavy heart confesses his entire scheme, apologizing directly to Cindy. However, Cindy is too wounded and humiliated to listen. She refuses to hear his explanations and storms out of the house. The rest of the group prepares to go after her, but Ron stops them, declaring that he alone must be the one to resolve the situation he created. He vows that if Cindy does not return, he will not stay in the house either. In the aftermath of this chaos, Sam confronts Amy. He states firmly that if Ron and Cindy move out, she too must find another place to live. He explains that he would not feel comfortable with her residing alone with Sean. After a great deal of introspection, Amy comes to a difficult conclusion. She believes that leaving Sean's house is the only way to preserve their valuable friendship and to alleviate the external pressures and jealousies that are straining all of their relationships. The next morning, she informs Sean of her decision to move out, explaining that their respective partners have serious objections to their cohabitation. Sean tries earnestly to convince her to stay, asserting that he personally has no issue with her presence. However, Amy stands her ground, pointing out that Shia has a significant problem with her and that this is a source of continuous conflict. As she prepares to depart, Sean is tormented by the sight and a firm resolution solidifies within him. He cannot simply let her walk away. In a parallel narrative of reconciliation, Ron manages to find Cindy, and through a combination of sincere pleading and promises of reform, convinces her to return home. He asks for one more chance, swearing that he will never again break her trust. Meanwhile, Sean is visibly upset and withdrawn, his mood solely attributable to Amy's impending departure. At a group dinner that Ron has meticulously prepared to impress Cindy, Sean sits in silent despair. Ron mistakes his friend's profound sadness for heartbreak over his breakup with Shia, but the true source of his pain is Amy. Amy, too, misinterprets his melancholy, assuming it is related to Shia. Later, while tutoring Sean's younger brother, Amy learns a poignant piece of family history. The brother reveals that Sean dislikes living in his own house because it is filled with painful memories of his mother, which is why he prefers the comfort of his grandfather's home. Moved by this revelation and feeling deep sympathy for Sean, Amy decides to prepare a special farewell dinner for him. During the preparations, she accidentally cuts her finger. Sean arrives home and displays immediate and profound concern for her injury. However, the moment he learns that this dinner is a last meal gesture before her departure, his tender concern transforms into frustrated anger. He feels hurt and misunderstood, and he retreats to his room without another word. The next day, he coldly informs Shia that Amy is moving out, sarcastically nodding that this development should make her happy. Seizing the opportunity, Shia immediately begins to show renewed romantic interest in him. On the day of her move, Sean behaves with uncharacteristic rudeness toward Amy before quickly sequestering himself in his room, utterly incapable of facing a final emotional goodbye. Sam, in stark contrast, is visibly pleased with her decision and actively helps her move her belongings out of the house. Shortly thereafter, Shia discovers a parcel delivered to her